Hello everyone. Today is going to be a compilation that I took from some of the video footage that I did a couple weekends ago on starting the seat of the RT6000, and then today with finishing up the seat and installing it. I was like trying to decide whether or not to add that the first part where I went up into the fortress base to try to get some measurements, but the snow and the mud just made it impossible. But I uploaded that, and so I decided that I would cut off the part where I was working on the seat and combining the seat repairs from that day and the other day. So that's what this video is. I did the best I can with the seat. It's not the prettiest seat in the world, but it's getting the job done. So I hope you enjoy the video. I just got back from the mountain, finding that I couldn't really do much there. So it warmed up enough that I'm gonna start up the RT6000, but I need to jump it. But my seat is in pretty bad shape, so I think I'm going to take it off and clean it up and get me some new cushions and stuff put on it. I have an option of whether I do it myself or have somebody else do it. But it's unbolted. It's sort of interesting. There's like a metal frame in a metal frame on this model. I want to keep everything like original. And so this is pretty simple to copy. Looks like just some foam inside that, and then you run the oh, it's actually got stitching on this one here, so probably have to have somebody stitch that. But then I have this bottom piece, and see, this upper piece had 5 bolts holding it in place. The bottom cushion might have had something, but I don't actually. Oh yes, I can see there must have been some sort of a bolt there holding on to the wood, but it is since corroded away. So that bolt is like sitting right there. So I guess that was in the wood. So I'm going to take this off, clean up all that base metal there, and then repaint it, and see about getting the seat and seat cushions remade. So at least that's something I can do real quick here. Here's the seat and the metal rim or insert that holds the cushion. Got them all I pressure washed it and wire brushed it, and now they're painted with Rust-Oleum Rusty Metal Primer. I'm surprised the seat was in very good shape for being from the 1960s. There's like some pitting down here on the bottom, so I sprayed the paint pretty heavily down there. So the day is rapidly coming to a close, so I'm going to finish up here and call it a day. Yes, I wasn't able to get up and get the stuff for the windmill this weekend. Hopefully next weekend, if we don't get another snow that I hear is coming in, because it is warm outside and it is melting. So I'm like itching to get out and really get stuff on the fortress done. But if I can't, I just keep working on little things here. The seat was one thing. It'd be nice to have a nice seat to sit in. So I'm going to talk with, they have apparently a guy here that comes and does seats here for Sparks Motors, and I'm going to have a talk with him and see how much it's going to cost for having him to reupholster it. Basically everything, the only thing he needs is a little piece of wood on the bottom that the bolts come up to hold the cushion, and foam, and then the what do you call it, the Arctic vinyl. So well, that'll be enough for this video. Well, today, after a really cold week and doing all sorts of stuff, trying to get back till I can finish the seat on the RT6000. I have it pulled off. I had it painted and everything sitting inside, but then I threw it into the other military, the back of the military truck, just to get it out of the shop. But I've got to figure out exactly, get all the materials I need. So I'm going to be running around and trying to figure out how to do this. I mean, I've done like a motorcycle seat before, just putting covers on it. But I'm going to have to be cutting foam and everything and making a base plate. So I'm going to take some learning today. Let's go inside and I want to see what we have used for seats before. Well, I remember being pointed out, so we had some of this old vinyl here. Been sitting out on top for a while. But it looks like there's probably enough to do the seat. I think it was like leftovers from something. Oh yeah, I believe there's like enough here for the seat. So we can use this. And then let's throw it back up there for a moment until I figure out where I'm going to work. So I think I'm going to have to go and pick up some foam. And I'm like guessing like what thickness of foam to use. I mean, I look at the stuff that they're doing for the seats here. They've got a professional, but he's too busy to get to working with my stuff. And this is sort of the foam. Pretty similar. So there's like different softnesses. So I've got to figure out what to use. So I guess go to Home Depot now. Somehow I've got to figure out how to make me a new base plate. New base plate. They were made out of this plywood. And then there was 4 special nuts that have like 3 prongs that embed in the wood, and then the bolt comes up and screws into that to hold it down. But the more that I'm looking about it, I notice at the back plate they use a metal piece. So I'm thinking I'm just going to make a metal piece and weld a couple nuts and do that for this. Now it might be sort of weird because since the nuts here would be recessed in the wood, it's a flat. But if I do it like what they did here, they'll stick out a little bit. However, still think it would be a good idea to do this way. And then I can, there's so much foam on it, I don't think you're going to notice it until the foam breaks down. But I can always, maybe on the bottom here with the 4 bolts, cut a piece of plastic with those holes drilled out, glue it down so it'd be a smooth smooth fit down there. But I first gotta, like, since most of the plywood's rotted all the way, I don't even know. No, neat. That's just falling apart. Let's pull this. Just come apart. I can pull this piece out. I don't think the wood followed everywhere, but seeing these holes, it looks like it was only bolted down right here. Now, they didn't bolt to the back. It just needs something just to hold it down so it doesn't move around. So I'm going to grab me some cardboard and start cutting something until I can figure out the correct shape. So I got to find me some cardboard. Well, I also went and grabbed some other the pieces from Home Depot. I bought the 2 thicknesses. Wish they would have had smaller pieces. I was going to use this for the seat for your bottom, and then this for the back. And then on the internet they recommended 3M Super 77, and I've tried it before. It's but I haven't really been able to figure out anything better, so use that. And this is just turkey carving knife. I think I bought at Walmart a while back. Seems to cut pretty good on foam. So I've got that, got my stuff laid in, grabbed me took out a piece of a cardboard box here, and now I gotta like cut me out some sort of a shape that'll fit. So let me cut that out here. After a little bit of trial and error, I got this, and to make it mirror image, I folded it over and basically cut it all down. I'm going to put it in because the metal frame is quite, how do I say, rounded, so I can't go very far out, otherwise the metal flexes a lot. So I figure that is actually sort of a nice base plate, and really does help to make it uniform by folding it. So what I'm going to do is the same method that they did on this backing plate. So I'm going to find me some metal, cut this out in metal, and use that as my seat base. You know, now I guess I could try to like replicate that in SolidWorks, but that would take a while. It'll be easier just to find some sheet metal, and then I can cut it with my tin snips, because I can just trace it out. So now I just need to find some sheet metal for that. Start looking through the scrap. I thought I could cut this with my tin snips, just a little too thick. So I'm going to try the bandsaw, not the bandsaw, I'll try my side grinder and see where we can get from here. I go to use the bandsaw, and guess what I find? Well, it looks like I'm not going to use this, so I am basically stuck with one last technique. Either I use a bandsaw, not a bandsaw, a handsaw, or I can try using my side grinder to cut this, which is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So let's see what I can do with that. All right, 2 ways, not working. Let's try a third. Seems to be working, but with a big blade cutting these corners here, I have to basically cut down a little bit and come back and work it and push the metal down. So it's working, and hopefully before I run out of power, I don't know where one battery's home being charged, one's dead. I've got this one that's almost dead, and I don't know where the other one is. but I'm hoping I can get this thing cut before I run out of juice. Well, I got it cut out. I just get off all the sharp, jagged edges. Well, it's got some of this coating on it. I guess this was originally a piece that was supposed to be for something that they wanted a nice polished surface, but it's since been beat up, so I'm not really worried about that. I'll peel that off, finish cleaning it up, and then I guess I'm gonna have to put a little bit of paint on it, which is a bummer. It's gonna slow me down a little bit. No, before I paint it, I gotta drill the 2 holes and weld the 2 little nuts on. That's what I gotta do. It started to be a pain trying to get that protective plastic off of it. So I decided a little heat on the back side, and hopefully that'll make it work easier. Get it off. So I'm not going to heat it too much, just enough to make it want to unstick a little easier. Peels off quite a bit easier. Get some rough surface. Heat it up a little bit more on the back. There's got it been sliced right there. Got some knife slices in it, so it's being a pain to get it to start. There we go. Another knife slice. Well, I got just a little bit there to clean up, and then we can like find out where the bolt holes are, weld 2 nuts on to hold the plate down. All right, gone drill the holes. I put the nuts and some bolts to hold them in place, and I just need to basically do a little tack weld on each nut, and that will be all. Now these nuts will be sticking up, but I have the foam on it, so the foam probably shouldn't feel it, but if they do stick up, then I'll just put like the thickness of this nut of some other material down on top, something harder. I'll figure on that once I get to that. I just remembered we had some of this rubber material left over from one of the projects. So I'm just going to cut out another one of these out of this rubber with 2 large holes, so the rubber fits down just on the outside of these holes, so I get a more flat layer, so if you jump down on the seat you won't land right onto the nut sticking up. So let's cut this piece out here. Well, now I'm going to use that Super 3M to glue these. So I'm going to first spray them down, let it cure, then spray them again, and then let it tack, and then let's put them together. All right, now you gotta let it dry, and then spray it again, and then let it tack up, and then I'll push them together. This makes the process of building the seat slow down a lot because you're constantly having to wait for stuff. But I think while I'm waiting for that, I will cut the piece of foam out for this. But I want the foam to stick out more from the edge of this, probably about 1 inch around. So I'll cut the foam 1 inch wider when I'm pulling around, so the edges will be sticking out away from any of the solid spots. I'm not sure, maybe still trying to figure out the best way to do it, but I'll try it that way first. Now looking at this other one, the way they did it, I was initially just going to put the foam on it, but I think I will go and use that rubber to give it a little extra thickness, just to keep these from possibly poking. So, especially since I'm going to use a thinner foam on this part. So I better cut that piece out. It's going to be a little harder. I'm just going to cut it bigger and then glue it on and then trim off the edge. That'd be the easiest for this one because it's in a curve and I don't want to change the curve. All right, I've sprayed on the material for the back of the seat, and I'm still waiting for this here to cure a little bit more, and then I'm going to spray it again. So now just the waiting game. Not really much more I can do. I guess I can cut the foam, but I want to sort of see how things fit before I cut the foam. Well, I learned something today. As I was putting on the foam, I didn't have it quite set right, and it glued, and trying to pull it back up, it ripped. So now, in order to do it this next time, because it's a pain to try to line up them holes, I am going to just get a square piece that's a little bit larger than this, spray it all, glue it down, and then force cut the little holes there, and then cut out on the outside. Because if it just touched a little bit, and then when I went to try to adjust it, another piece fell down, and then it was just downhill from there, as everyone can see. Trying to pull it up, it just came apart. So I've tried to get all the last little pieces off. I ended up having to use the torch there, heating up the back, to get it to peel off easier. So I just need to, I'm going to use a square piece right here. I'll spray it on, and then as long as I get it so it's the whole thing is covered over, I'll be fine. So let's get to that. Well, I got that first layer. That seemed to have been a very good idea. Makes it so that the nuts don't stick up. So now I'm going to figure out how I want to cut the foam. Like on the top, I'm going to be pretty much, the foam will be basically the same, stick out just as much as this. I made it stick out just a little bit so that the vinyl wouldn't push right up against the metal. I did the same with the bottom. So on the bottom, thinking of maybe not in the front, but on the back, the foam stick out a little bit. Probably not really needing to do that, but I think I'm going to do the back, this back piece first. Then it'll show me sort of where and how far I want to go with the bottom. So, the biggest issue I have with this is this piece I got. It's not looking like it's going to be big enough to make it all the way. It was the biggest piece they had, so it looks like I'm going to have to cut some, use some of these excess pieces and glue together to finish it up right there. So, I think I'm going to use the technique I did last time. Well, yeah, sort of figure. So now I'm going to glue a piece of this onto here and then see where we come from there. Then I'll have some left over up here and I can cut and use for here. And since I'm not going to have it stick out, I'm just going to cut it like flush. So gluing the foam and that together, it should be okay. Cut's okay, not as sharp as it should be, because I'm gonna have to make some pieces out of this for the edges of the seat. So I'm gonna have to basically, I'll be gluing this on sort of like that, and then I'll have to cut extra pieces out for those. So this thing's going to be rather close. Okay, I'm going to spray some adhesive on it and then see where we go from there. I've already run out of this 3M Super 77. Seems to work pretty good, but it doesn't seem to stretch very far on the adhesive. So I got to run up and grab some more. I got enough to spray here, but I'll need to put a little bit more in. Well, I've glued on my pieces. And looks sort of like this. I'll need to trim off this excess. I'm gonna hold all these pieces on. Not ideal since I couldn't get foam the exact size I wanted, but I'm gonna grab this. Well, although it's not perfect, it's pretty close. Just going to do a little bit of touch-ups on it, and then we'll see how it fits up. I'll screw on a bolt to it, and then we'll cut off the bottom foam. So I think the bottom foam is going to come like pretty close to the edge here, but then stick out a little more in the back. We'll see. Well, it's coming along nicely. I think I basically cut it almost flush with the front a little bit. I didn't want it to stick out really too much, because if it sticks out and there's no support, it tends to tear. And I let it puff out about 1/2 inch around the other edges. So at this point, I think we're probably good to go with putting on some of the vinyl. And I think I'll start with the bottom. A lot of dust on this vinyl. I need to clean that off. But what I'll do is I'm just going to cut a nice, big piece, and then I'm going to slowly try to pull it around and then glue it on the back. But what I'll first do is I'll glue it to this face right here. I'm wondering if I might probably bevel this maybe a little bit. Not really sure. Usually the foam just sort of mushes, but maybe in the front a little bit. I'm not sure. I think I will take it and cut a little bit of a round edge right in this area here. Okay, let's keep on going. I'm just spraying the just over where it'll touch on the very top. I'm not going to be spraying on the sides or on the wrap yet, because I don't know exactly how it's going to fit. I'll have to work that out after I fit it on top. These carving knives from Walmart, they work okay. I had another one before that worked really well. This one's not quite as sharp, so so my cuts haven't been as nice as I would have liked them, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. Once it's wrapped, you won't even notice it. So we just got to wait for that adhesive to tack up, and then we can start pulling the vinyl over it. It'd be nice if I can get this seat done for today. Okay, now I'm going to set this thing down on it. Right about. Ooh. There. Now this is the tough part. Corners and stuff, I'm gonna have to figure out where I want some wrinkles, because there's nothing I can do about doing these corners with getting some wrinkles in it. I just gotta mitigate it possibly. Normally if they would do this, they would do some stitching to make this, but since I'm not doing the stitching, I'm just doing it the simple way. I'm gonna have to work on it here a little bit. So this is gonna take some finesse and see what I can do. Well, I did it. It's not very pretty, but it looks like it'll work. It looks nicer once it's installed onto the seat. So I'm going to bolt that one down, and then I will look at trying to get this other one, which is even more complicated, and probably won't look I'm gonna have to like try a different slightly different technique on folding it over. I just have to slide up, cut the material up a ways, and then overlap it, but I don't want to go too much, otherwise it'll open up. So I'm gonna bolt that on. I get this one off, and put the vinyl on the other. And as usual, I put anti-seize on all my nuts, and then I put this and bolt the cushion in right there. I always use anti-seize, because if you have to get them back out, these will be out in the moisture and they get wet, and you want to be able to take the seat cushion off. Like maybe in the future I decide I want that reupholstered with someone using the sewing and do a really nice one, because everything else can be reused. The foam can be reused and everything, just have to reuse a different vinyl on top. But I don't have a good place to put the camera, so I have to put the camera down in order to put the bolts in. Nope, there it is, bolted in. And it's got a lot of these little puffy areas because this is heavy material, and trying to run it around a corner, I just have a lot of excess material. But this thing is like pushed on down, so the vinyl is underneath is being pressed between the two steel plates, so it's going to hold in nice. And actually it doesn't look too bad. I specifically tried to work the front. I got this side a little nicer than this side, but I basically worked the front to be the best, and then towards the back not so good. So now we have this one, and this one looks a little more complicated. Not exactly sure I'm going to do this one, but I'll cut a piece out and then I'll just start slicing and folding around and do the best I can. Well, turned out I have wrinkles. There's just no way I could figure out how to do that with as heavy as the material that I had. And but it is all together. I haven't like sat down on it with it bolted tight on the back. It does actually sort of hold all the vinyl in place too. So well, it's basically a work seat, so I think it'll be good for now. I gotta go through and do some cleanup here, and then I'm wondering if I ought to bolt it up onto the forklift tonight. It would actually look nice on it. Let's see what I can do. But after, I gotta clean up all this mess. Got the seat bolted in. It's a little difficult getting under here, starting the nuts, because there's not much space for my fingers, but I got it in. And I got the seat in, and it is nice and comfy. Not the prettiest on the edges right there, but it tends to work great. So thank you everyone for watching and subscribing. I really appreciate it. It really helps out on my channel. And everyone have an amazing week.